Hey man.
What's up?
We're a pair of walking wounded here because my man Michael Weimer here is under the weather, and I sort of am too, but in a different way. But doesn't matter. See, here's the thing: this is a pro masculinity show, and so men don't show their vulnerabilities, and we're not going to, right? Don't let them see you sweat, but especially if you're like pro man. So that's how we're going to go forward, like soldiers. As we always do. So, where do you want to begin? Do you want to begin with like Dayquil versus NyQuil? Like
I was gonna say
Dayquil's the shit. Like whenever I'm sick like that, it's just like almost as good as the real drugs.
I was wondering if anybody else was feeling sick, if they followed your advice and bet the house on the Chiefs.
Word. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I was right. I needed to start off the show by, of course, announcing now that not only are we a pro man show, we are now very famously a sports gambling advice show, and where you can make money. So we're giving away money every time you tune in. As last week on this show, I said, go bet everything on the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. Lo and behold, some of us are a lot richer today than we were on Sunday morning, thanks to me. So, a little gratitude here and there, be nice. There's always the Patreon, unregistered Academy memberships, all those things, No, it felt really, really good until the fucking shooting. And it, like, that hit me especially hard just because I've been following football this year. And I've been following Kansas City because we all have, and because this one journalist who I really like, Nick Wright, is from there. And it was a big deal, and it was just so fucking awful. But however, what really made me lose it was the guys tackling the fuckers. That shit. Wow. And they did it reflexively. That's what I love the most. Like, you could see it, and he said, one of the guys said later, he said, I didn't even think, I just turned and like tackled him. And you could see that's exactly, someone said, stop him, he's got a gun. The dude just immediately, two of them immediately tackled this kid to the ground, and the gun came out of his hand. Whew. Oh, in a crowd of everybody, including tons and tons of kids everywhere. Oh boy. But then I was thinking, well, thank you, cops, for doing nothing once again. Weird how that often happens, where the cops don't actually stop the bad guys or even catch the bad guys, and it's up to us. The men who are actually brave, and there's quite a few of us. So I'd like to think I am one of those, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I probably would. It was so beautiful to see that.
Yeah,
like that really. There's a lot in that moment, right? Because of what they've been doing to men for years, for my whole life, right? My whole lifetime since the 1960s has been one long campaign against men and masculinity. Absolute. In my culture, not in the rest of the world, which is normal about these things, but in the feminist world, that's exactly what's happened. And we have been painted as worthless, and worse, as, of course, our masculinity being toxic, always, only. And there is, I guess, sure, I suppose there's some form of toxic masculinity, like, Benjamin Netanyahu's masculinity is fairly toxic to me. But man, you kind of saw right there, what is a core component of masculinity, which is courage, like physical courage. And it was right there, beautifully captured. You could see it happen perfectly. There was no ambiguity about it, really. And I just, wow. Yeah, it was good. And it was and it was also another indictment of the cops, I think, in a way. I kept waiting for the cops. And then the guy who tackled the kid, he said it felt like 5 minutes for the cops to show up. He said it just seemed like it took them ever. And there were how many? 800 there, cops at the parade, something like that. I heard the number. It was some humongous number. It was a small army of cops at the parade. And they were like nowhere to be seen in the camera frame for a good like 30 seconds. Man. But yeah, this fucking young woman, mom, 2 kids dead.
I was gonna say, does it feel like this shooting and the Lakewood shooting are getting less media coverage than they normally would get? Does it feel like that?
Well, it's funny. As soon as I saw the news that it was a shooting at the Super Bowl parade, I was like, oh my God, the right wing is just going to go love this and go bananas. This is going to be a psyop, whatever, or a false flag or some shit. They're not saying that anymore. As soon as they found out it was black kids, they're now loving it. And saying, see, it's black criminals. It's not, that's the problem. It's not the CIA. What was the question?
Oh, does it feel like these shootings are getting less media coverage than normal? Because to me, it seems like these are kind of swept under the rug. Like I'm not hearing them being blasted about 24/7 on the news.
Kansas City, even?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought
Yeah.
maybe it's just because I'm tuned into football and so I'm seeing it more. I thought it was pretty big on the news just because of what it was. I mean, it was a Super Bowl fucking parade. Like, that's the biggest. Well, right. Here's what it was. This is the significance of this, I think, right? Isn't this the biggest, highest prestige, probably largest event at which there's been a mass shooting? I think so. I think that's what it is. You know, at which there were like many celebrities and I think it was 1 million people. I think something like that.
Yeah.
Like everybody in Kansas City is a Chiefs fan. It's the one thing that you do, and it's to do in Kansas City is to be a Chiefs fan. I mean, my family's from there, so I mean, a big like half of my family's from KC and Independence, and it just sucks. It blows. It's a piece of shit town. So there's nothing else to do, and this is like their one moment of glory and like happiness and pride to live in that place. And it gets shot to shit too, literally. Anyway, and then of course now the gun control. I find out that these sports journalists who I started following recently, of course, they're all liberals, as far as I can tell. The white ones, the black dudes are often like quiet about their politics. I've noticed the white ones are like uniformly, as far as I can tell, liberals who are, and so all they're talking about is gun control right now. And those guys have, speaking of men and American men, the top sports journalists in this country, like the top 10 of them, they like damn near own the consciousness of a majority of American men. Like probably more than half of American men like listen to these guys more than anyone else about opinions, right? I mean, that's most American men are world-class experts on sports. Just phenomenal like brain power put into understanding sports, remembering data and stats and names. And so then these top journalists like Colin Cowherd, Rich Eisen, these guys, like they become like they are the public intellectuals of the sports world. So they're like, they become part of, and so every American man has like knows these guys. And if they say shit, they may well be swayed by it. I think gun control is coming because of this. So that's what this is. That's 2 reasons why this is different. The biggest event, I think this is right, at which there's been a mass shooting, and these sports journalist liberals are hugely powerful and influential, and they seem to be like even ready to mount a campaign. That's what they sounded like today. That's all they talked about. They didn't talk about sports at all. They just talked about that, about the need for national gun control. So I mean, I wish they were right. Jesus, yeah. I wish they were right. I would, you know what, if it really worked and it didn't require a civil war to make it happen, and it really ended gun violence, then I would actually be willing to shelve the anarchist, anti-statist, and paleoconservative position and libertarian position about the citizens having the right to defend themselves against an authoritarian government. Not the right, the ability to defend themselves against an authoritarian government or against any government. Which, yeah, I mean, I think that's the correct interpretation of the Second Amendment. I think that's the spirit of it. But more importantly, less it doesn't matter what Jefferson thought. It's how it's been interpreted, and not interpreted. It's what it means. I mean, it means exactly. And unfortunately, dickhead Ben Shapiro is the one who said this publicly, most famously, right? And I think it was on Piers Morgan, in fact. And it was kind of breathtaking when he said it. It was like, oh shit. This is radicalism from the right, fellas. This is kind of an anarchist position that Ben Shapiro took. It's like, no, we need the ability to fight back against a tyrannical government. And of course, Shapiro invokes the Holocaust, which is a brilliant move. I mean, yeah, they did disarm the Jews. That's damn right. First thing, disarm the Jews. So, you know, I'm willing to trade in that my ability to wage the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Like, do we even want to do that? Or, for the rest of my life and hopefully my son's life and his kids' lives, fewer deaths, I would. But here's the problem: it doesn't work, or at least I don't think it'll work. I mean, not in this country. There's just way too many guns. Too many people will not give them up without a fight, literally. The buyback, Shaquille O'Neal, speaking of sports, I don't know if you saw that. He just put a whole bunch of money into a huge gun buyback in Texas, like Australia has. Which did now that's what's that?
He's the cop, right?
Shaq?
He's like deputized in Miami.
Oh, right. Yeah, military family. A lot of this, I think I've said this before, a lot of the black sports stars are from military families. It's really interesting. They all have fathers at home and like strict discipline and all that. That's why they become sports stars. And Shaq's one of them. His dad was a lifer, like I think he was even a drill sergeant. I mean, like the most military kind of family. Yeah. So it's no wonder that Shaq is who he is, actually, not just because of his size and talent. But anyway, Shaq, yeah. So I forget how much he's putting up, but it's a huge amount. Enough. I mean, he's talking about Texas. How many guns are there in Texas? Good Lord. I heard that there's about 1 billion total in the United States now, if you include ghost guns. That's Cody Wilson told me that. And other people have estimated somewhere it's got to be around 1 billion. Well, it's probably more than that because that was like 2 years ago. How many of those are in Texas? Half? Maybe. I mean, it could be half. So if a gun buyback does significant good in Texas, like really, if I see that happen, Shaq does that, pulls it off, he buys back whatever X number of guns, and we see Y percentage reduction in gun death, gun violence. All right, libertarians. All right, NRA Republicans. Whoa, we got a problem here, don't we? Because we're going to hold on to that little right to a revolution, a violent revolution, which, granted, I get it politically, philosophically, I'm 100% there. But are we going to hold on to that? Even when people are dying needlessly, if we know that some legislation like that can actually reduce the number of people dying from guns, because that's all we're giving up. I mean, yes, the right has been eroded even further. Correct. The Second Amendment is definitely eroded. But yeah, if I see fewer dead, I actually don't give a fuck. And I'm sorry, this is partly because I'm not a gun person. I hate them. I've only ever been simply philosophically aligned with the libertarian position on gun rights, and I've written about this a lot, for reason and the racist history of gun laws, which are there. It's amazing if you look at it. I mean, the entire history from colonial times to the present, it's all been racist, like with like intentionally racist. Every single, and people want to look at this. There's 2 articles I've written for reason on this. It's just it's indisputable. But taking away the guns, say like in the ghetto now. Go to the south side of Chicago and take all the guns out of there. Like, you want to do real gun control? That's what it would take. You got to go confiscate. It's not, the fucking Latin kings are not going to hand over their guns. So, and the Latin kings are now like, I think they're like a minor gang in Chicago because they've been replaced by the cartels, who come with really big guns also. So, get those out of there. Get the cartels guns out of there.
Since you brought up the racist history of gun control,
Yo.
and since the perpetrator was black in the Kansas City shooting, this
Three
chart,
perpetrators.
yeah, which is crazy. Like these things are never coordinated like that.
Well,
But
no, I think it sounds like it was like a stupid like gang beef. That's the way it was, literally that fucking petty and stupid.
Mhm.
Man, some of these teenagers are like true sociopaths. I mean, it's the shit I see is just like in the hood. I'm saying, yeah, some teenagers in the hood in this country, in all the cities, because I've seen. I mean, I've just seen it firsthand. I've lived in Oakland too. Like it just the most sociopathic behavior. It's breathtaking. You're like, this person needs to be taken off the streets. Person is like doing, like deliberately killing people for fun, like the kids in Las Vegas. That guy, they ran that guy in his 60s off his bike, killed him for fun. You saw that? Remember that video? Anyway. So
but yeah,
yes.
this chart is circulating around. I think it was brought up originally by CNN to talk about how gun violence disproportionately, it's like a horseshoe theory thing. Like gun violence disproportionately affects black people. And as you can see by this chart, per 100,000, you've got 2.77 in Missouri white,
Oh, it's amazing.
59.42 black.
It's ridiculous. The
And,
disparities are just absurd. Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, oh yeah, that's it, right? Homicide, yeah, exactly. It's insane. The homicide disparity is just like, okay, guys, we gotta talk here. We gotta talk here. Come on now.
So
You do what is it? 50% of the murders, and you're 13% of the no. And if you break it down to gender, it's black men. I think are 6%. 6% of the U.S. population's right around there are black men, and they do 50% of the murders. That is bonkers. And like Glenn Lowry's right about this stuff to an extent. I mean, Glenn, we have some issues, but like he's certainly right about that. Like that has to, one way or the other, that's got to stop. He's wrong. I think he's. Do I agree with Glenn Lowry now? I mean, it is a cultural thing, but it also stems from the drug war.
Well,
so I don't know. Anyway,
for me, when it comes to the gun violence issue, I'm usually explaining this to somebody at a bar and have a drink, and I'm like, hey, if I drink a third of this, that's suicides. If I drink another half of that, that's gang violence. If I drink the rest of it, that's lovers' quarrels. That's like domestic violence.
Yeah.
And then if I take out half of the residue that's left in the can, that's police shootings.
Right.
And then the tiny littlest bit of residue that's left in the gun deaths equation is these mass shootings that get all the media attention.
And I hate to say it, if you break down the police shootings down to shootings that were unjustified,
yeah,
it's like maybe the CO2 being released from the bubbles like that. Yeah. I mean, it's less than 10 per year of unjustified police shootings of black men. So, and I've seen years recently that it was like maybe 2 or 3, and even those were like borderline, wasn't clear. And that's amazing considering that they do 50% of the murders. I mean, Heather McDonald, this is why when I got on stage with her to have a big debate with her, half the time I was telling her, yeah, you're right. Like this shit is bad. You're right. These criminals are fucking terrible, and they're all black, damn near. I mean, not literally all, but fucking damn near functionally. I mean, in Oakland, there's no such. I've never encountered a white criminal. Like, I'm sure they've been around. Maybe in the 70s, like a friend, like my family friend's boyfriend, I think had just gotten out of San Quentin and he was white. But other than that, like every person I've ever come into contact who's a criminal is black in this city. And we know from the statistics, they commit 50%, 6% commit 50% of the murders. Now I'm talking like Law and Order. I'm sounding like Donald Trump a little bit here. I'm sounding like might even be a racist. But it's precisely that anarchic, chaotic part of black working class culture that is also the reason that those same exact people gave us all the best music, all the best entertainment, and all the best athletes, and all the best singers and dancers and comedians, and like it's the same source. It's a slave. Basically it's a descendant of slave culture, which doesn't feel responsible for the greater nation state or the greater national culture, doesn't feel a part of it, and therefore not responsible, doesn't have to abide by the norms. That's the working class, those who didn't want to assimilate into the middle class and become full American citizens like King. But most black folk who are like, academics call them black working class, who they're not political, they're generally poor. You know, they're the ones who create most of American pop culture. It's incredible. Like historically, like damn near all of it comes somehow from black working class people. Pretty much everything you listen to on the, you know, musically, that's pop culture, pop music, you can find somewhere in black black working class culture. So, but the blues, the original blues was, if people look at those lyrics, which they never do, they always pretend it's always, you know, some sad old black man on his porch in Mississippi, strumming his banjo about, you know, his lost love. No, it's about fucking and often raping and like doing drilling and being the baddest N-word in town. Common theme in the blues songs. Mary Beth Hamilton wrote a brilliant book on this. And yeah, a lot of the great blues musicians of who invented the music were fucking criminals. Or worse, woman beaters. Like, you know, got away with it. They weren't criminal. They were not charged or anything, but, you know, and we're proud of it. So it's the same source. Repressed, restricted, uptight, white, Yankee Puritans were great at building shit, great at running militaries. But you're not going to look to the people who are running everything for dance lessons, dancing lessons. Like, you're not going to learn like how to play a funky groove on the drums from those people.
So you're open to, in theory, liberal policies on gun control. Were they effective? But
yeah,
are you open?
Yes.
Are you open to Bukele style maximum prisons being built, and everybody with a gang tattoo, regardless of motive, being arrested? Everybody with a shaved head and a gang tattoo.
I mean, sociopaths, like violent sociopaths. Mm-hmm. I know some sociopaths who are not violent. At least I hope they're not. I don't think they are. But no, violent sociopaths. I mean, what have I said about pedophiles? I think there need to be concentration camps, like away from population centers where they have to live. I'm not for torturing them or even making those places, you know, difficult to live in. They can be comfortable, but they just need to be separated. Like, they really just must be separated basically permanently. So yeah, violent sociopaths, same thing. I mean, it's right. I mean, that's something almost everyone except for like the Angela Davises of the world, you know, agree. I mean, I was never a prison abolitionist, maybe for like a hot minute back when like Mike Brown during Ferguson, when everybody was insane about this stuff. That was I call that my black radical phase, which lasted about a year. Yeah, no, clearly. I mean, and so what do those prisons look like? I mean, I'm for the Norwegian model. God, there's a show, I forget which channel it's on. It's a tour of like the world's most dangerous prisons or something. And like, it's kind of an amazing show. Like, he goes inside these prisons, and one of them he went into was in Finland, and which is considered to be like one of the toughest or the toughest Scandinavian prison systems. It's a motherfucking hotel compared to like US prisons. Trust me, it's amazing. Like, there's plenty of light, beautiful windows. The dudes sit around like smoking and playing games all day. I'm like, and you can see a lot of them go in and out because it's so nice in there. Bukele's prison looks like, from the videos, you know, a very orderly Supermax type prison. Panopticon, you know, absolutely devoid of humanity kind of thing. A perfectly constructed box for caging human beings. I mean, it's a perfect cage. There's nothing. Whereas the prisons in Scandinavia, I mean, the ones in Norway are mind blowing. They look like fancy hotels. That's crazy. And they have a super low crime rate. I guess that's why they can do that. But, or maybe I don't know what the causal effect is there. But so I don't know. I just want separation. That's all. I don't need anybody being tortured.
Mhm.
Right. What's your position, Weimer?
I am more and more open to right-wing authoritarianism. I'm not really.
Cool.
Yeah.
You want to go full Pinochet
yeah.
Or let's see, who else is fun? Well, we could go African if you want to get really down into it. We could go Idi Amin. Like, who do you want?
Yeah.
He was dope. Mugabe. Yeah, he put the fist down. Hell yeah. So, like, what do you think?
Again, I'm not really. I live in a state. I live in Indiana, so we don't really have problems at all. So I don't.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
No murderers have ever come from Indiana.
Yeah. Except
for John Dillinger.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a rich Hoosier history of criminals. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, don't you have another like nasty serial killer? One of those like bodies in the basement kind of guys. Gacy was. Where was he? Chicago,
Gacy, Oklahoma. I thought.
No. He was Chicago.
Okay.
But I thought he might have been Gary. No, he was Chicago. Close, but no, he's there. You're right.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, we could continue with the theme of mass murder. That's fun. Easy to do these days.
Yeah,
we should. I mean, yeah. Man, the thing I struggle with most about the Israel-Gaza saga, which it is an ordeal for everybody, actually. The thing I struggle with most is like, how much should I allow this thing into my head, and how much should I allow it to govern my mood, my feelings, and how much of it should crowd out other concerns and interests, which it has. And then I'm like, so I started to ask that question, and because I get a fair amount of pushback from multiple people on this, like I get kind of vibes about, you don't need to worry. It's not such a big deal. Like a lot of people say straight up, I don't give a fuck about what's going on.
Well, I'm just so pessimistic about the outcome that I don't see any way out of this that works out for anyone.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, just short. There's only, okay. So I did want to say this on the show, on publicly. I haven't really I finally sort of put this together. And I've actually been sort of saying this for 20 years since I was teaching on this subject, but the second Intifada, which was in the early 2000s when I started teaching on this, was when I think it was 150 suicide bombings inside Israel. Some of them carried out by children. And they killed, I forget how many hundreds of civilians, just straight up random civilians on buses, in cafes and restaurants, on a crowded shopping street in central Jerusalem. The teenage daughter of one of the leading Jewish, get this, anti-Zionist, it's Miko Peled's sister. Anyway, that's the Peled family. They're the top anti-Zionist Jews in Israel. They're like huge hated celebrities there. The teenage daughter of Miko's sister was killed in that Jerusalem bombing. And they continue to be like anti-Zionist, pro-Palestine, basically. I mean, almost pro-Hamas, I would say. Close, not quite, but very, very pro-Palestinian. Anyway, so the second Intifada, like this, the signal that was sent to most of us in the world, and that was sent to most Israelis, Jews, and then like much of the sort of liberal intelligentsia, was that Palestinians as a group have now made it pretty clear that they will never accept any Jewish ethno-state at all. in that region, which they have every right to do. And like, I get it, it's not my choice. I would prefer to leave, but I've never had psychological roots, emotional roots to a land either, right? Not the way that I sort of do with California, but not to the degree that they apparently do. And I get it. They were colonized violently and displaced violently and all the rest of it. It's all true. I mean, their narrative is correct in my view. But they made it clear, really clear, that there was no longer a willingness to accommodate any Jewish state at all. Whereas the PLO had finally come to, with the Oslo Peace Accords, an agreement. Basically, they had come to agree on that point, that they were willing to allow the existence of a Jewish state side by side with a Palestinian state. So the Second Intifada was really, which was carried out by Hamas, by the way. And this, in many ways, to me, was even worse than October 7th, what they did. It really was, actually, because October 7th, I do believe, was primarily and overall an actual military operation. I don't think they were intending to kill civilians. And that's a long story we can get into, but it's still, I saw definite executions of civilians that are horrendous, but I don't think that came from the top. Whereas that's the question to me, which still hasn't been even addressed, is whether and why, even like Al Jazeera should have asked this, because they actually get the Hamas guys on. Someone should ask these guys, did you order the execution of civilians on October 7th? Or was it simply a military operation with military targets only? Hostage taking is a different question we can get to, but like the killing part, like I don't think, but I don't know that they did order that. I think they intended it to be primarily a military attack. Anyway, the second Intifada, carried out by Hamas, the most atrocious shit you can imagine. And again, like the cause is as just as any I can think of. Like for me, like I just am 100% with them. But the second Intifada was so bad, and just demonstrate, and there was not much remorse either among Palestinians about it. Right? There was very little. I can't even think. I don't know if there's anybody who apologized for any of it. But it mostly signaled to the Israeli public that the Palestinians are not going to ever accept you. So this is a war to the death. Okay. There's not going to be a two-state solution. Okay. There's going to be either no Jewish state or there's going to be no Palestinians. It's one or the other. So either the Palestinians physically go or are expelled, or the Jewish state no longer exists. That's it. There's no other choices anymore. There's no more accommodation. There's no more two-state idea. And I thought they were right at the time. This was the right wing. This is when Netanyahu became big. This was his argument at the time, which is when he became big. He said, listen, these people are never going to accept us. This is a war forever until they're gone. That's what he's been saying for 20 years. That's what the Likud party's position has been. In their charter, the Likud party charter, it says Israel will be from the river to the sea. All Jewish, no Palestinians. So both sides have, to me, and to anyone who really knows Zionism at all, like it's clear the Zionists themselves always saw it as an eternal war until the Palestinians were expelled. But that's kind of been ignored. So yeah, this is it. That's what's happening. And the left, the pro-Palestine left, doesn't really acknowledge this. And I brought it up in my interview with Max Blumenthal. And I think I opened the interview with it, in fact, which was a little bit of a challenge to him, but not, I agree with Max on like damn near everything on this stuff. But I do feel like he and the left in general in Palestine don't say that for both sides. Oh, I finished that. I forgot. Yes. For Zionists, it's always been an eternal war. Yeah. That both sides, and I think beginning with the Zionists, but really maybe always, because there's documents from the 1920s in which Palestinian leaders are saying, yeah, no, this is a no-go at all. There can't be an exclusive Jewish homeland here. What are you talking about? there were 7,000 of you in Jerusalem. That's it. You know, in the 19th century. What the fuck are you talking about? Now you're gonna have a nation state in the middle of this shit, which we can't have any rights. Okay. So it's like, but over the last 20 years, it has become manifest the contradiction between the existence of the state of Israel and the existence of Palestinian people in that area has been manifested. We now have seen it emerge, right, in the last 20 years with the blockade of Gaza, with the huge wave of settlements into the West Bank, 700,000 settlements now, illegal. I mean, it's just grotesque. And these settlers in the last 20 years have emerged as a huge force, and they're just straight up Nazis. Like, they're just no question about it. Everybody, again, I've said this over and over, please go watch videos about the Jewish settlers in Israel. The culture of those people. They're like, it's the Klan. They're not Nazis, they're the Klan. They're maybe even more vicious in the Klan, because the Klan didn't do a whole lot of ethnic cleansing, but that's their mission, these people. And then the most amazing part about them, and this is when I'm like ashamed to be even part Jewish, because we're supposed to be smart. It's amazing. The settlers in the West Bank, their sole argument for why this land should be theirs, and they can therefore kill babies, Palestinian babies, to drive their families off the land and steal the land. The sole and only argument is that the Bible says so, that it's theirs, which is hilarious too, because Rabbi Shapiro, when he was on my show, like says, that's nowhere in the Bible, guys. Sorry. It says there's no mention of like establishing a Jewish state in Palestine. What? It's not there. In Judea, whatever you want to call it. It's not there in the Bible. And that's their sole argument. And they do the most atrocious shit. And a lot of the people, it's mostly teenage boys, Palestinians, who were in Israeli jails, and it's about 6,000, or maybe it's 10,000. It was 6,000 at the beginning of the war. I think it's 10,000 now. A whole bunch of those kids, teenagers, we're talking about 5 to 10,000 Palestinian teenagers in Israeli jails. A lot of those kids are in jail for attacking those settlers. Yeah. And this is, again, on occupied land. These are absolutely illegal settlements. And these are attacks carried out by complete Nazis. Anyway, I got to deal with my echo. Why does it happen like middle? I have to do this. Still echoing. So yeah, I think the Palestinian left, pro-Palestinian left, is that me or you?
I think that's you.
Damn it.
I
just started. Reduce background noise.
I think, I don't know. I muted for some coughs, and then it might take a while to echo cancel again when I unmuted my mic, but yeah.
Darn it. Okay. The pro-Palestine left is disingenuous on this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, it doesn't concede anything. It doesn't concede anything. Because if you're an anti-Zionist, that should be your position too. That, yeah, it is. We don't want it to be a war, but Israel has to go. Doesn't mean, and by the way, for Israel to go doesn't mean the elimination of any person in particular, any people, any Jewish people or anyone else. It means the elimination of that state as an ethno-state. It means the establishment of a state in that place that is essentially democratic, in which all people have the same civil rights. Good old-fashioned liberal democracy, which I thought we were supposed to be for. Are people hearing this echo, or is it just me?
I don't know. I'm not hearing anything on my end.
Okay.
Nothing in the chat. I was going to ask.
Yeah.
We brought up the example of South Africa a few weeks ago. Oh, Kelso's hearing it. Okay. But have you been following Julius Malema, Commander Malema, and the kill the Boer chants and the straight up open calls for white genocide that are getting more and more popular?
Yeah. The ANC is he part of the ANC, or is there a splinter?
No, he's part of the EFF.
Yeah, he's a splinter. He's a splinter group. Yeah, he was ANC. He was one of the founders. I think one of the founders, or was he the leader of what was the military wing called? They had a badass name. So what's I mean, he's always, as far as I know, I'm not an expert on this, but like he's been okay. I got to change this. I don't know. I need help. The echo's not good. What could it be? I fixed it before. All right, let me try
settings.
I can just go through the MacBook. I can go. Oh, wait. Oh, okay.
Is that better?
Let's see. Nope, still there. Wow. All right, try this. How does this sound? Oh, there's still an echo.
Now I hear an echo. I didn't hear an echo before.
That's through my MacBook. This is through my whatchamacallit, equipment. So it shouldn't be happening. I don't, unless I could do 1 second. Sorry, everybody. This might do it. How is this?
Less audio quality, but no echo.
Really?
Yeah.
How bad is it? Not very good.
It's fine. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Yeah, I can't hear words.
God, what's going on? Okay, so it's not my end then, right?
That's better.
I can still hear myself. Speaker. No, I shouldn't. Let's see. Okay, let's try this. Nope. And we'll try. Okay.
Now they're saying it's a slow echo.
I'm so sorry. I don't know why. How's this?
That's
why
fine.
Is there still? No, I'm hearing.
Is that bad for you?
Okay, come on. Nope. Someone help me. I'm dying. Today. Dude. Like volume. Someone help me out. Someone in the chat.
Have you gone to settings and all that? Done
That's where I am.
Echo cancellation? Yeah.
Yeah, I've clicked it on and off multiple times.
What's your?
Oh, let me try it off. Is that it? It should be off. Oh, now it's good.
Is that better? Okay,
it is.
Okay.
Someone, Kelso, are we good?
It's been fine always for me. Okay, yeah. Chat says it's good.
So okay, sorry everybody. So echo cancellation needs to be off. That is counterintuitive. All right. So weird. Anyway, all right. Enough StreamYard talk. Sorry, everyone. Where were we? Yeah. So yeah, no, this is a big deal, and this is like indicative of the left. So it reminds me of this sort of unwillingness to, and I can sort of understand why, but there's an unwillingness to be honest about Palestinian intentions. And again, it's not necessarily genocidal. I actually don't think that some, I'm sure, but I don't think most Palestinians want to kill all Jews. In fact, I'm sure they don't. I know, because I know 10, literally, I personally know 10 Jews who've lived in Gaza. So no, but do they want to eliminate the Jewish state entirely? Yes, totally, 100%. There can be no Jewish legal supremacy in that area. Sorry. I mean, nor should there be Muslim supremacy. And I'm not sure they're calling for that either. But either way, Palestinians absolutely want, yes, the elimination of the Jewish state, but so do all anti-Zionists. That's all they are. They're anti-Zionists. I'm an anti-Zionist. There's Peter Beinart, who's a liberal. He's an anti-Zionist. So it reminds me of this on the left. It's a tendency on the left that's very bothersome, which is this odd thing. So with communism, it took a really weird form. And I always notice this because I was raised in a socialist but anti-communist, anti-capital C communist family. So we always hated commies, but we were from the left. But which was the line on the communist left and the pro-communist left and even the liberal left for a long time. Like this is what Bernie Sanders would say until the end of the Cold War, but even after the Cold War was, oh, the communists in the United States, they weren't really communists. They were just civil rights activists and labor union activists and feminists and human rights workers and social workers. They didn't care about communism. And I'm like, wait a second, but if you're pro-communist, don't you want them to have been pro-communist? And of course they were fucking communists because they joined the Communist Party of the United States of America, which was officially aligned with the Soviet Union and given orders by Joseph Stalin directly. Come on. But they would just deny it to this day. And the other thing, an example of that is Mumia Abu Jamal. So what I'm saying is there's a contradiction on the left between what their ideology actually is calling for and what they say publicly about movements that they support. So Mumia Abu Jamal, right, in prison since the fucking, 70s, I think now, in Philadelphia for killing a cop in Philadelphia. Black Panther basically like intellectual, sort of low-level intellectual. He's like a journalist. He had like some Black Panther newspaper, I think, or radio, something in Philly. And in fact, it wasn't even the Panthers. This is even better, worse. I think he joined the, there was a splinter in the Panthers in the 70s that became like the cop killing group, that's Assata Shakur's group. I think he was affiliated with them. I could be wrong about this, but I know he was part of one of and I'm talking about there were splinter groups from the Black Panther Party in the 70s that avowedly in their manifestos, in their mission statements, called for killing cops, okay? Mumia Abu Jamal his group called for killing cops. Like randomly, cops killing them on the street. And so the whole line on the left since 1970, whatever it was when he killed what's-his-face, on the left has always been, oh, he's innocent, he's innocent, he's innocent. I'm like, wait, he called for killing cops. I'm confused, guys. And you also hard left I'm talking here, like the hard, what we would call now BLM left. You also are for kind of killing cops, aren't you? You think it's a noble thing to do. So if he, like, why are we thinking he didn't do it? Of course he did it, because we want him to do it, don't we? God damn it. I mean, I understand that, like, you're admitting guilt, but you're a revolutionary, you know? Did Nelson Mandela say, oh no, we don't actually mean to overthrow the apartheid state? No, they're revolutionaries. The Palestinians are revolutionaries, man. Yeah. For better or worse, but that's what we have to deal with. They're not going to stop, clearly, until there is no Jewish state. Yeah, and this is one of the things that's bothered me about the left. That and taking over bridges and freeways.
Well, you brought her up earlier, and
yeah.
I'm curious about this incident. Angela Davis herself.
Did she?
Well, as far as not blocking bridges, I don't know about that, but just what she was arrested for. That incident where those terrorists, they took over like a courthouse, and the FBI got her.
Oh, back in the day. You're talking about the 70s.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, the Marin courthouse. Yeah. Oh no, Angela Davis was totally involved in some violence. No, the whole black nationalist, like there were the 70s was amazing because there were multiple black nationalist movements and like many, many black nationalist organizations, and some of them owned land and were like literally building like communities and but the Panthers were big, the Nation of Islam was big, and then there was all these Nation of Africa, there's all these groups, and some of them were kind of like hippie, back to the land, like establish a black nation in the South somewhere. And some of them were kind of right wing, like the Nation of Islam, which was about like build your own business, women shall be in the kitchen, men will run things, but it'll be a black nation. And then there was the left. So the black kids who went to colleges, basically, this is like the precursors to the BLM, was that generation precisely. That's where she comes from. And the black radical left in the 70s was almost, I think, uniformly for killing cops. It was not, I don't think it was it certainly wasn't the Panthers thing. People might not, I'm sorry, the Panthers, it was not the Panthers thing officially. I was also going to say it wasn't the Nation of Islam's thing either. Nation of Islam never wanted to just kill cops. That's idiotic, right? What do you think is going to happen? What happened to the Panthers? They got squashed immediately when they started doing that. They all went to prison. So let's be honest. Let's be honest about what we're supporting. If you're a revolutionary, that's what it means. It means probably killing. So yeah, and this is to your point about you don't see a solution.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying here, to sum up, is that all of this says very clearly to me that very, very, very unfortunately, there is only one solution, which is, as I said, one or the other. Either the Jewish state goes, and again, not the Jewish people, the Jewish ethno-state, the exclusive ethno-state goes, or all the Palestinians go. Mm-hmm. And they're about to bomb Rafah, and there's 1.2 million people down there, which is like, Rafah is, I don't know, the size of a town.
Which is one of those cities they told everybody to flee to in the first place also.
They've been telling them from day one, go south, go south, go south, then go to Rafah, go to Rafah, go to Rafah. So 1.2 million people went there. And it's like, I don't know, it's the size of a small city, I think, Rafah. It's a small city. And they're about to go in. The shit that they're doing. But see, I could give you a litany of atrocities that I've seen just in the last 2 days that are just like, what? This is a horror movie. But, this is not a defense, but the logic of Zionism requires that kind of absolute sociopathic sadism. Because it is a fight to the death. It is. If you are invested in the Jewish state, then it's a fight. These people got to go. And they are, they are your existential enemy. It's true. If it's about the state, it's not about you being Jewish, bro. They don't give a fuck about you being Jewish. They give a fuck about whether you're Zionist or not. They love Max Blumenthal. They love Dan Cohen. They love Zach Foster. They love all the Jewish anti-Zionists. They adore them, of course. They're not stupid. They're not stupid racists. So yeah, it's grotesque. But what people need to understand is what I'm getting. It's like, and Israelis don't even see it because they're so fucking narcissistic in this weird way. Israelis have this very odd culture. And there are some things about the culture that I really like, by the way, including the food's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But
you've been talking about the dancing, right? In Israel, the dancing Israelis.
They're big, and the IDF does these TikTok videos all the time of these like IDF girls dancing in the desert. It's just kind of, what's going on here? No, to me, that indicates how narcissistic they are. They don't understand how they're being perceived. And I've heard a lot of experts, like John Mearsheimer was saying this today. He's like, it seems to me that the Israelis don't understand that they are hated. I mean, in ways that won't change for generations. They're going to be hated for a long, long, long time. And that's exactly how I feel. How many young men in the Middle East, as we are speaking, are signing up for a militia to go fight the Zionist entity? I mean, to save those kids in Gaza. You think there aren't a few young men in the Middle East who are a little fired up to save those kids?
Well,
God, man. Like the blowback, bro. The blowback. This is what I've started thinking lately. At this point, Americans and especially Israelis, yo, it's too late. You need to be thinking about what the blowback's going to be because it's coming. Like there's going to be some very bad shit happening in your country, Israel, and maybe in ours too. Because we did, and because they know where those bombs came from. I mean, thank God there's been such a gigantic movement for Palestine in this country. So I'm sure they know that there's most of us are with them on this. But like Israel, it's there's going to be a bomb. There's going to be a very big bomb. I fear, inside Israel. I mean, in one way or another, there's going to be, or missiles coming from Hezbollah, or God knows, but it's going to be huge. It's going to be bad. I mean, the blowback for this, man, the hatred over this. There were 5 million people in Yemen in the streets marching against Israel over the weekend. 5 million people. I think that's the size of the whole country, practically. And you can see it. They did an overhead shot. It went for miles, holding a giant Palestine flag, like that went for a mile. It's like a mile-long flag they were holding. 5 million people marching in Yemen. That's just Yemen. And those people know how to fight, by the way, because they've just been fighting for the last decade. Syria, the Syrians, man, there's all sorts of warriors and fighters all around Syria. And Iraq, all these countries that have just been through wars have all kinds of fighters still around. You know, I mean, Egypt has a huge army, lots of guys who know how to shoot, and many of them are Palestinians. There's a huge Palestinian and ex-Palestinian population in Egypt. Like, do you think those dudes don't want to do something? Like, if I lived anywhere near there, I would be hard to restrain myself from doing something. I mean, when 100 trapped children are being killed per day, like, isn't this like an emergency? I mean, I don't get it. This is why every day I struggle with this. I'm like, wait, isn't this the one thing we should all be really feel urgently about? Like, when, no matter what, even what position you're on, like it's 100 or so children per day who can't go anywhere, who are being killed. Like, this, shouldn't we stop everything to stop that? Like, right? Not stopping bridges, but, you know, shouldn't we like stop politics until we get to that? I don't think any other issue should be really talked about, actually, in some fundamental way. I mean, obviously I don't mean that quite literally, but it needs to be front and center. I need an argument for why it shouldn't be. What, you know? And it's also not even just the humanitarian piece. As you've said before, it's the geopolitical piece. Most importantly, they're pushing us to the brink of a world war or a regional war or some combination of them both. I mean, you've got all of these powers, all these fighting men, all these armies ready to go if there's a particular trigger. And I mean, there's already been triggers. So it's 30,000 dead. 12,000 kids.
You want to talk about the aid package?
Oh my God. $95 billion with a B. Do you know that when I get onto the freeway here in this entrance, about 100 feet onto the entrance to the freeway. This is the 680, major freeway in the Bay Area. I count to 5, and then I lift my arms up because I know there's going to be such a giant divot in the road that the whole car is going to lurch, and I have to have my arms in a particular way or else it's going to feel really weird. And then it's just ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk all the way down the freeway. $95 billion when our fucking roads are worse than Mexico's, like a lot worse. Anybody who's been to Mexico lately, tell me how the roads were there. They're awesome compared to ours. How much is Ukraine getting? 65 or some shit? 40
60,
something?
yeah.
60?
Yeah.
60 billion for those motherfuckers after we gave them how many? 100 and something billion. I mean, like, they've lost the war. We've known this for a very, very long time. It's a meat grinder. Did you know the latest? So last time we talked about this, they were drafting women in large numbers and 17 and 18-year-olds. You know who they're drafting now into the army, Michael Weimer? People with Down syndrome. Yes. There are Down syndrome people fighting in the Ukrainian army right now. Because they have no men left, because everybody fucking left or was dead. This bill, this legislation is the most offensive thing I have seen in a very long time, which is saying something in Congress. I mean, this, and then Israel gets 17 billion, I think.
Yeah.
Really? That alone is just like that stops you in your tracks. So wait, are we not reading the news? Rashida Tlaib was she abstained. Or no, she voted against it. I take that back. No, she's not. It's not there yet. Sorry. There's another bill. What did she abstain from? It was incredible. What was it? Oh, the bullshit about the alleged rapes by Hamas. Some nonsense bullshit stunt. And she's the only House member to abstain.
Well,
anyway, yeah.
The bill has passed 70-29 in the House. I mean, in the Senate. And it's waiting, being passed in the House. The politics on this make absolutely no sense, because originally it was a border bill, and then everybody got upset that all this funding was snuck into a border bill. All this foreign aid funding was snuck into a border bill. So then they took the border stuff out of it and made it just a foreign aid bill, and that passes with flying colors in the Senate. But now Rep. Mike Johnson, who has been supportive of Israel since day one, that's been his number one priority, is saying, I'm not going to pass this without the border stuff in it. So really confusing messaging from Republicans here as to what their priorities are.
Okay, well, to me, it says a couple things that are really important about party politics and even the election. So, number one, I believe it was, how many Democrats voted against this fucking thing? I think it was just Bernie and Merkley. Is that right? Or were there 3?
That sounds right. I know Bernie voted against it.
Bernie voted against it. I'm pretty sure Jeff Merkley voted against it. I think, was there a third one? Was that it? Right? Okay. And then how many Republicans? 20 plus Republicans.
Yeah. But
and they're all MAGA, and it's all MAGA, right?
Yeah. Peter Welch was the third Democrat.
I know who he is, but
okay, Vermont.
So 3 Democrats and 24 Republicans?
Yep.
Okay. Which party do you like more, everybody?
Well,
I mean, obviously we don't love the Republican. Jesus Christ, if I had to pick one. Number one. Number 2, it's MAGA. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. Now, this is really important to me, because I was about to fucking throw, you're about to say something, but MAGA over under the bus for this. This tells me that MAGA doesn't care about Israel as much as it looked like they might.
Well, so this was Michael Tracy's hypothesis,
which is cool.
There were some notable Republicans who voted against this: Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, and a lot of people that you would suspect of being on board with unlimited aid to Israel and Ukraine forever.
I should have had Tracy on. Yeah,
voted against this. Yeah, and he said that they know that this is unpopular with their party, but they know that they have the votes regardless, and that their votes don't really matter. So, in order to maintain popularity, even though they voted for all the funding in the past, they're going to vote against this.
Wait, why did Lindsey Graham? Wait, I'm sorry. Why would Lindsey Graham vote against? He voted against this bill?
Yeah. I think because he knows it's unpopular with the base, I guess. I think he knows at least Ukraine is universally unpopular.
He doesn't give a fuck about base. Wait, the South Carolina base? Oh, maybe it is actually. Because Trump did well there. That's true. It's really, Tracy thinks it's a concession to the Trump base by Graham?
Yeah, it's a meaningless concession in that these senators meet behind closed doors. They know they're going to get the votes, so they vote against it to posture.
Oh, yeah. I see. But he's voted for everything else for Ukraine and Israel. So it's not like, it doesn't quite make sense. But, I mean, Tracy's got a point, but.
Yeah, this is attached to the border thing, so it might be a border thing. Like, oh, I'm being tough on the border by voting against this bill because it doesn't have enough stuff in it for the border.
Oh, oh, well, it's in. Nah, I can't. Wow, I need an explanation. I didn't know Lindsey Graham voted against it.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
need an
sure.
explanation for that because he's obviously on the polar opposite from like the
Yeah.
MAGA people. I mean, when I say MAGA in the Senate, there isn't really MAGA in the Senate. Well, no, we got JD Vance, right? Who else do we have? Who else?
Uh,
Who else does MAGA have? That's it. Isn't Vance like the only like true believer MAGA in the Senate? I think he is.
Pretty
There,
much.
but then
Yeah.
there's, I mean, then there's a bunch of like close. I mean, Mike Lee sort of has some MAGA tendencies. Wait, I'm missing somebody. Who led it in the Senate? I mean, is it just JD? Um, but no, this is really important to me because I was like, yo, MAGA, hey, the only reason you guys care about Israel is because of Jared Kushner. I mean, think about it. There's no reason for MAGA to care about Israel at all. They don't have to be anti-Israel, but it's like, why support this joint? Like, what? Talk about a globalist institution who they love their LGBTQ shit, drag queens on every block in Tel Aviv. And I mean, seriously, it's a big time rainbow. It's like it's all San Francisco there.
Oh, Josh
Um,
Hawley.
Josh Hall. Oh, you voted
Yeah.
against it?
Yeah.
That's right. I saw him give a good speech about it. That's right.
Mhm.
He's so, man, inconsistent. He's like, one day he's giving a speech about banning pornography. The next day he's giving a speech against giving aid to Ukraine. I'm like, I don't know what to do with you, dude. Um, so MAGA doesn't love Israel that much. Because if you're a Zionist, you vote for that shit. And um, I guess, or it's just about priorities. I guess
Here's some more
Ukraine and
interesting no's. Marco Rubio voted no, and Tim Scott voted no.
huh, Rubio on what, on the border basis, right?
Probably,
Not
yeah.
not the foreign aid basis. No, again,
Maybe.
because those guys have all been consistently pro Ukraine, pro NATO, pro Israel, consistently, super consistent. So I mean, they're not fooling anybody if they think they're gonna make us think that they're better on Israel. Nah. It's just the border thing. It's what Mike Johnson's about. Right? It's that politics. It's opposing it based on the border issue. Yes?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. No, isn't that what the MAGA, well, there, I mean, it's a
That's
combination, but
Mike
there's
Johnson's point of view too. That's why
sorry.
Mike
Yeah.
Johnson is walking in the House.
Johnson, that's Johnson's. MAGA's opposed to Ukraine and the border stuff.
Yeah.
My thing is though, I'm amazed that they are, I'm sure AIPAC's not happy with them. Oh, by the way, does anyone know if AIPAC gives money to MAGA? I would guess so. I haven't looked into that. I need to know that. How much money does AIPAC give to Marjorie Taylor Greene, for instance? To JD Vance? Do they try? What goes on there? I need to know this. If AIPAC's got a hold of MAGA, your movement is bullshit. Your entire movement's bullshit, Donald. Sorry. If AIPAC has a say in your movement, you're bullshit. Because that is the most globalist bullshit you've ever heard of. Israel giving them $4 billion a year. What's this? How is that America first exactly? What? Because your dipshit son-in-law says so? And that boy is a dipshit. Jesus Christ, I can't believe he was allowed any power in this country. So, MAGA, apparently you don't love them. You don't love them Israelis that much, do you? I mean, isn't this sort of a bit of a betrayal by MAGA of Israel? Isn't Israel seeing it that way? I would think so.
Potentially.
AIPAC ain't gonna like that.
Yeah. I mean, I can only hope that that's what's actually at play, but I don't think it is. I think Tracy's right on this one. And I think it's
Yeah.
weird election year posturing on the border issue. I don't think they want to give Biden a victory maybe on that issue. But yeah. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I didn't even get to the border provisions in it, or I mean, I don't even care. Like, just the foreign aid to those two places is just like, wow.
And
Okay.
you were talking about the sportscasters being the voice of the people nowadays.
Men.
Did you see Stephen A. Smith was ranting against the Biden administration?
No.
Yeah.
What's Stephen A. saying?
Yeah. Let me share this real quick. But yeah, he was basically saying that Trump is going to win again because they're giving all this aid to illegal immigrants and
Oh shit.
and Ukraine, and the populist
shit.
message of why do we have all this money for things that don't concern us is actually sort of crossing the aisle here.
So you can pick and choose. What it came down to for me is this. I see homeless folks in the streets of New York all the time that are American citizens. I damn sure see them in California. We've got poor, impoverished, starving people who were born and raised in this nation. How in the hell do we come up with a $53 million pilot program for illegals, but folks who are here legally are born here, we don't have enough of them. Just like we could come up with billions for Ukraine, but somehow, some way, we can't fix the homeless problem. I'm down for helping Israel. I'm down for helping address the situations with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, okay? I'm down for helping the Ukrainians and fighting off Russia. What about poor and desolate citizens here? How the hell do you print money for foreign countries? But you don't print that money to help eradicate folks that are starving right here in the streets of America who were born and raised here. This is what I'm talking about.
Damn.
And if you have something like that, what's the one way to eradicate it? Yes, you got to have a flourishing economy. Yes, you can't have inflation. Yes, you can't be on the verge of a recession. Milk don't need to cost $7. Bread don't need to cost $5. Don't get me started with how much sugar costs. You can talk about you can talk about the labor participation rate, but guess what? If you ain't making no damn money and you got to get two jobs to pay the same prices or to buy the same amount of stuff that you used to buy, and the price is higher than it used to be because of inflation, then guess what? What are you really accomplishing? That's why Trump is on the verge of getting elected.
They leans in and whispers, yeah.
America's greatest orator.
Mm-hmm.
He is right now. I mean, who's better? Really, who's a better public speaker? It's always a black man. I mean, from the church. You know, I'm sure Stephen spent his time in church. Yeah, no, that shit's amazing. He's amazing. So, I mean, as an orator, he's wonderful. As a sports analyst, he's pretty good. He's not even top 5, but he's incredibly entertaining. And you know, he's got his pro-black racialism going, which you don't see it so much in this clip, but it's cool in some ways, might be problematic in others. Here's the thing. People get all excited when someone like Stephen A. Smith says something that they might like politically. It's like, oh, he said something there that sounds good to me. Like MAGA. I noticed MAGA, that was their clip. MAGA War Room. That's the Steve Bannon show. Oh, we're all excited because he's talking about it against illegals. I mean, yo, but like he also said, I'm down for giving money to Ukraine too. Like, nah, it's a mishmash, dude. These guys are not political intellectuals.
Yeah.
They don't know shit really. And what they do is they kind of like get the messages from around the culture about what you're supposed to say about particular issues, right? What is proper etiquette to think about Ukraine? What we just saw there is Stephen A. Smith has received the proper etiquette about what you say about Ukraine and Israel. The proper etiquette we now know is still that you support Ukraine and Israel. That's to me the most important thing. Now that he went in on the illegals, as he calls them, that's a black thing. Like, you know, again, go to the hood. They fucking hate illegals. They hate immigrants. They hate people who aren't black. They're racist as fuck. I mean, ask a Korean shop owner in Southside Chicago. They're as anti-immigrant as anybody. Always have been. Black working class. Fuck yeah, for various solid reasons, actually. Some racist, some not. And he's coming from there.
Yeah.
Or he's appealing to that. Stephen A.'s from Queens.
I think the populist message about inflation, though, and the populist message about helping out at home before going abroad is taking over mainstream. Do you see Cenk Uygur had a ad for his campaign that sort of had
Oh,
the same
God.
message to it?
God, do we need it? Do we need to see
Yeah.
Cenk Uygur? No, I haven't.
You don't see him, which is the best part about the ad. You
Oh,
just hear his
good
voice at
God,
the end.
Jesus.
But
Cenk.
yeah,
Yeah, first time I've been on the same side as him in forever on Palestine, but God, he's just too much. Talk about toxic masculinity. There's a good example. So wait, Stephen A. Smith though. So is he though, like, I want to see what the Hoteps have to say about this. This is where I need the expertise of Hotep Jesus, especially. I wonder what he said about this. But you know what I mean? It's a mishmash. To me, it looks like a little Trojan horse, a little neoliberal Trojan horse. I wouldn't get too excited about Stephen A. if you're based. He's not based. He's reading the room. He's reading the room, and he's saying what, like, he thinks the mainstream, the multitude is thinking, right? So he's actually taking the safe route, I think. He knows that his base is black. And he can be super black, super pro-black, super like all that bullshit and get away with it because it's ESPN and they are completely woke and would never fire anybody for being too black. And that's that's a huge part of his charm too. But dude ain't talking. It's incoherent. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like that fractured American political mind, like the typical American who thinks about politics every once in a while. That way of thinking about the world. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I heard that that's the good thing, so I'm for that, of course. And I heard the other thing is the good thing, so I'm for that, of course. But let me say, right, it's just don't get too excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, media personalities try to be everything to everyone, and I definitely read it as that. But again, I think it's reflective of where the temperature's going a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the anti-immigrant piece, right? The anti-illegal piece of it. That's where people are going. That's where the culture is going. Is that what you mean? They're turning against the immigrants.
That maybe. And the anti-foreign, like, especially seeing billions of dollars being spent on foreign aid when they're suffering inflation at home.
Yeah, that's sure. I mean, that's a good old populist point right there, what he made, which is, by the way, it's both right-wing and left-wing populist. That's exactly what Bernie Sanders says.
That's what Cenk is saying.
Yeah, that's what Cenk is saying. Exactly. That's what MAGA says. That's what Steve Bannon says. Why are we spending all this money over there when we could be spending it here? Yeah. They're not free market people. They're not like, they're statists. So that they can get excited about. But he's like ready to give money to Ukraine too. Like, what? Well, MAGA's been very clear about Ukraine from the jump. Like, that's not cool. If you're for Ukraine, you are definitely on the wrong team. I mean, that is only globalists are down with that thing. So anyway, doesn't matter. But you're right, though. It does matter. Sorry, Stephen A. Smith, my God. Like, well, okay. I mean, okay, I'll say this. And this is actually pretty important. What I was saying about sports journalists, right? For black men, Stephen A. Smith might be like one of the most, he is the most, one, like after Michael Jordan, he's probably top 5 famous black men in America. There's damn near no black men in America who don't know all about Stephen A. Smith. Now, what I think's happening there, okay, this is what's happening. Stephen A., and I love him, but he's riding a wave that he sees that other people don't see, which is the black man MAGA wave that the Hoteps basically initiated. And he's seeing that's where people are going. His base, his constituency, that's where they're headed. And I think he feels safe when he sees that the streets are saying something. I think he feels safe with that. And that's where it is. The streets are so MAGA in that way now. How many black men are going to vote for Trump this time? It's going to be crazy. It was 20% last time, right? 20% of black men, I think, voted for him. 20 plus, 22, 24. I think it was 20 plus. I mean, it was, yeah, like a fifth or a fourth, something like that. Crazy. Last time. This time, you don't think the number's going to go up? Oh, yeah, man. It's going to go 30, 40. I don't know. But it's going to be he's going to get a huge chunk of black men. I mean, you'd have to have brain damage to be a black man and vote for Biden at this point. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of Biden's campaign material recently that reeks of just weird desperation, but like talks about shrinkflation during the Super Bowl as if inflation is caused by corporate greed, and like,
he's been,
yeah,
I mean, that's been the story lately in the like national media, is his decline. Well, Kamala said that thing about how she's ready to step in. Oh, are you? Okay. First of all, you're not, but thanks for letting us know that you think Joe's not going to make it.
He did that ad also where he's eating fried chicken with a black family and discussing how impressed he is that this kid visited a dry cleaners and is playing basketball.
What? I missed this.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't see this?
No. Oh boy. Okay, Joe.
Yeah.
It's his popcorn moment.
Yeah. I don't have it on me right now. But...
he's very comfortable with black folks. He really understands the Negro mind.
Poor Americans are just as smart as white Americans. The classic Joe Biden line. Yeah.
Oh, Joe's had a few
yeah.
doozies on race. Wow. Yeah, no, his decline. So it's gotten to the point where the liberals are kind of starting to throw in the towel on this. But like, and the rest of the media is just saying, okay, listen, we have to deal with this because he can't function.
Well,
he can't function. I mean,
yeah.
he did a press conference on Israel thing, and he couldn't remember the name of Hamas. I mean, it was wild. And the reporter had to tell him, you mean Hamas? And he said, oh, yeah, Hamas. It's been one thing after another. If he confused the presidents of Mexico and Egypt, he reversed them. And then last week, I think it was, he said that he had recently had a conversation with Francois Mitterrand, who died in 1996. He said he had a recent conversation with him. It's something else, man. Jill needs to get in his ear.
Jon Stewart, on his first day back to The Daily Show, had a 5.5-minute bit about how Joe Biden is obviously mentally incompetent. He played all this footage of Democrats.
You're done. If Jon Stewart's turned against you, you're gone. You're gone. You're gone.
But Jon Stewart has been the day late, dollar short guy with his takes as he's come back into the spotlight. He was the first one to say for the liberals that the virus could have come out of Wuhan.
That's right.
And to a shocked and dumbfounded Stephen Colbert.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some more developments there. I haven't followed it very closely lately, but I know that Richard Ebright has been doing work, and he recently reported that there's now some new data coming out of the lab itself that shows basically it's incontrovertible, that it's a lab. What's Sam Husseini's formulation? We're not supposed to say lab leak anymore, lab origin. Mm-hmm. That it came from the lab. That it's basically impossible to deny that now. And came from a program in the lab funded and basically directed by the U.S. By Anthony Fauci. God, haven't said that name in a while, which has been nice. Bro, I mean, he amazingly started the coronavirus. He's responsible for COVID-19 happening. That's, to me, there is no more like amazing turn of events in world history than that, right? Global pandemic. The leader of the effort to eradicate the global pandemic turns out to have been the creator of the pandemic. If that's not like some science fiction shit, I don't know what is, but that's exactly what it is. Anthony Fauci is ultimately responsible, as are some others. I mean, the Chinese government too. But it's basically that. It's pretty much those two, I would say, are the two primary what is it? Entities that are responsible for the origin of COVID are Fauci and whoever was in the CCP at the time who was doing this, making the decisions. But yeah, it's those two entities. I mean, it's just, but like this hasn't sunk in. I keep thinking of this guy on the beach I saw in 2020, in the summer 2020. Went to the beach here in Marin County, and there was this fat fucking hippie with a big t-shirt, an XXL large t-shirt, with a big like Fauci face on it. Just walking up and down. He was so proud too. He had this like look. I think it was when Fauci made that face at Trump, something like that. When that was such a proud moment for them. Oh, your man said he made a face at the bad man. Wow. That's why we should do whatever he says. I mean, I want to talk to this guy now. I'm sure they're just in denial. Oh no, he had nothing to do with it. It's not that. It's came from a bat dung hole. Fuck. He started it. It's incredible. He funded and oversaw the research that created this thing that ended up in my body. Thanks. And killed how many people? And you pretended the whole time. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Richard E. Bright. Everybody should check him out on Twitter.
There's two more points I want to get at real quick.
Yeah.
One, you were talking about how the old left used to make apologies for authoritarian regimes. And yeah, it's interesting. I hate to sound like a Russiagate Democrat.
It's not so much apologies. As I said, it's a lack of frankness about the meaning and intentions of revolutionary movements.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
You're starting. I hate to sound like a Russiagate Democrat here, but some of the absurd content that came out of Tucker Carlson's trip to Russia seems to have like a similar romanticizing of systems built by Joseph Stalin, especially when he talks about how clean the subways are.
They are.
Yeah.
The malls, I think, really are like that. Yeah, no, I've seen multiple videos of malls in Moscow that are mind-blowing. Yeah, like long before Tucker came along.
Those subways in Moscow were built by Stalin to impress foreigners.
I've been on those subways.
Yeah.
I've ridden the Moscow subway in 1987, and it was at the time, even then, that was during the Soviet Union. I was in the Soviet Union. It was equivalent. It was pretty. Yeah, it was actually nicer than the New York subway at the time. Definitely in the 80s, and probably about the equivalent of the DC Metro. It's not bad. No, people have always said it was Stalin's greatest achievement.
Mm-hmm.
That and murdering millions of peasants.
Yeah.
But
and then he goes to supermarkets as though he's never been to a supermarket in the United States. Like they have the coin return thing that has been in so many different American grocery chains, and he thinks that this is some genius societal revolution that the Russian mind thought up.
It's his George H.W. Bush moment. Remember when Bush Sr. went to the supermarket and was like amazed by the checkout? What was it? Like something. At the time, it was like
or Khrushchev when he did it here.
Well, right. Well, that was more understandable because he had never been in a real supermarket. But yeah. I don't know. Good on Tucker though. I mean, I haven't watched the interview yet. I've heard a lot about it. I'm really glad he did it, and I think it's gonna help demonize Putin, which is essential for world peace. Not that anyone should like necessarily celebrate him. I don't care one way or the other about him. But the demonization that's what drives the wars entirely.
Yeah.
If we stop demonizing Putin, we won't have wars anymore. It's that simple.
The best thing about that interview was you got Putin on the record saying he has no ambition to conquer Poland or any other NATO states.
Well, he laughs at it. He's like, and he explains like, why on earth? Like, why would we do that? Think about the drain on resources it would require to like seize and conquer and administer Poland. Like, what? You'd have to devote how much of the Russian military to that? How many civil servants? How much repression would you have to? I mean, it would be incredible drain. It's the stupidest fantasy that Putin wants to take Poland or any of those countries.
And then days later on the Senate floor, Mitt Romney says, as if it's a given fact, that Putin will invade Poland if we don't pass this bill.
If we don't continue killing thousands of Ukrainian and Russian boys, Putin will take Poland. Okay, Mitt, fuck yourself.
And then you put in the show notes real quick that you wanted to talk about Barry Weiss. I'm just I have a reason why I might want to talk about her, but I'm curious.
Next time.
Okay.
Just that she's really become important lately, partly because of Israel, but partly more because of just her position in this fucking intellectual web that I sort of am tangentially a part of, that I'm really disliking. And she's
yeah.
And also, so she was also at Columbia when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was an undergrad when I was teaching at Barnard across the street. I don't think she was ever in my classes. I don't think I ever met her, but and her claim to fame originally, how she came to fame, people don't know this about her. She's missed free speech, and her organization is called the Free Press. She first made her name when she was an undergraduate student at Columbia in the 2000s, trying to get Joseph Massoud fired, who was a professor of Middle Eastern studies there, claiming that he was like bullying to Jewish students. He was simply anti-Zionist. She tried to get somebody fired from being anti-Zionist who had tenure, and she almost succeeded too, by the way. No, she has never been for free speech. She's always been a charlatan. She's kind of an idiot, and she loves Israel and just can't kill enough fucking babies to save her little ethno-fascist apartheid state. She also happens to be good friends with a bunch of friends of mine, and it makes me sick, and they don't seem to understand. There's much more to say about her. It's not good. She's terrible and dishonest, and the Free Press is full of shit in so many ways. It's just reactionary. It's like it's people who want to bring back like old liberalism, the liberalism before wokeness. That's all they are. They're just like Cold War liberals. These, like Sam Harris, same thing, same politics. They want, foreign interventions. They want the American empire all over the place, and they don't want identity politics. On that, I agree with them. That's why I know a lot of these people.
Well, they don't want identity politics for everybody except one identity.
Right.
And they find no hypocrisy in hosting a talk called "The State of World Jewry" address.
Right. Well, okay. Yeah. The other person, is Coleman Hughes. So I don't know Coleman, never met him, but he's very close with a bunch of friends of mine. And he just came out with a book called, I forget the name of it, something about it's toward a colorblind world. It's like Camille Foster's argument about being toward a raceless society, post-race society where we don't think about race. Race is not essential, important at all. And again, the essential argument there, that's me. I mean, I've worked with Camille on his book. I'm with him on this, on both of them. Coleman then writes several, I think, articles for the Free Press, for Barry Weiss, defending the state of Israel. Like, it's an ethno-state. It's an apartheid ethno-state. You are separated or are not allowed civil rights based on your ethnicity in the West Bank. Like, what are you talking about? You're for a post-racial world, but you're supporting one of the few ethno-states on earth that also is an apartheid state that bases everything on ethnicity and race. Okay.
I've got a soft spot for Coleman Hughes.
Why?
We're the same age, and while I was an undergrad, he was a young black intellectual, one of the very few people speaking out against Black Lives Matter, all that madness as it was happening. So
yeah, I never trusted him.
Yeah,
that's why
he's also a great trombone player.
Is he actually good?
Yeah, he's a good trombone player. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And does he rap too? Doesn't he rap?
Oh yeah, he's got a couple rap songs.
Yeah. Okay. No, I never tried. I mean, my friends like Camille fell in love with him when he first came up when he was at Columbia as an undergrad. And I mean, his chops are amazing as an intellectual. Like, he's an incredible writer, super gifted. Like, wow, he can write an essay like a motherfucker in ways that you don't see very often.
Well,
and he was great in some way, and of course he was right about identity politics, and still is basically.
And that he could go toe to toe with Ta-Nehisi Coates on the, I think,
Sure.
Senate or House floor about reparations as an undergrad. Like you're going up against this genius grant author, and
yeah.
No.
His intelligence, his IQ is off the charts. Yeah, no, he's smart as fuck, and a great writer, just tremendous. No, but I don't know what this whole thing with Israel is with him. And Camille and a bunch of them, they have a soft spot for it. I guess it's because of who they hang out with in New York.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it comes down to. It's really disturbing, but yeah. And also super contradictory. You're post-racial, but you support the ethno-state. Okay.
Well, the Palestinian side, the Black Lives Matter side, is the woke side still.
Right.
Oh,
yeah, totally. They see the left. They see the left over there. And they see the left doing all of its crazy shit, which it is, about Palestine. So it must be wrong. Must be wrong. Plus, it's like Hamas. Oh my God, they're terrible. They don't know any of the history. They don't want to contextualize it. They don't want to hear about the history. Just Hamas is terrible, beheaded babies and raped women, and therefore that's it. We gotta just kill them. They can't. They don't even think past it. They don't want to hear about the history. All right.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta send out the link for the unregistered.
Did
live
I not?
meeting.
Oh, I thought I did.
I got some messages saying we didn't get it.
God dang it! All right, I will put it on Patreon in a minute.
Cool.
Unregistered Live, go to patreon.com/unregistered. Join us. And join us at Unregistered Live, which is a hangout Zoom meeting after Unreported every Thursday night at this time. We're there for about an hour and a half, chilling. You can be completely anonymous or not. We don't even have to see your name. You can just come and watch, or you can come and heckle and play, or whatever you want to do. So join us. Go to patreon.com/unregistered. And I will put the URL up there in one moment. Thank you, Michael. You're awesome. Thank you for soldiering through. Thank you for being a man.
Yeah.
We need more men.
Never go to the doctor.
Like the guys in Kansas City and you. And never go to the doctor. Good. Exactly. And never discuss your feelings. That's the most important thing. All right, everybody. Michael, thank you. Peace.
Thanks.